Hello and welcome back to another Instagram Live and Artist Stories. My name is Tara Wahab. I'm the founder of Loud Art Society. Loud Art Society is a nonprofit organization that enhances health through art and creativity. We've been operating since 2015 in the city of Calgary, and so far we have held several different public art projects, programs, and events for which we have received very great feedback. Since the pandemic has started, we have decided to start a new project with Artist Stories and getting connected with artists from all around the world and getting them to share their stories through these Instagram Lives. And today we have another great artist. His name is Darren Mccree, and I'm really excited to learn more about him. So I'm just going to get him connected with us here. Hello, Darren.
Good morning, Tara. How are you?
I am doing great. How are you doing?
I'm fabulous.
Awesome. All right. I'm really excited to learn more about you and about your beautiful art. So I'm just gonna go ahead and start our little interview here and learn more about you. Please just tell us about yourself, introduce yourself, tell us where are you living and what kind of art you have been making so far.
So I'm Darren Mcrae. I was born on the east coast of Canada. I grew up in Ontario, southern Ontario, went to school there. And since I was young, I've just always been interested in drawing and painting. And finally, able in high school to start taking art courses, and then directed me towards university. So post-secondary was studying fine art. And because I was first exposed to the group of seven, when I was 16, one of my drawings got entered from the high school I went to. They selected a few of us to be in there, which is a pretty prestigious gallery. And so the first time I went there with my parents, we looked at all the paintings of scenes around Canada, and that basically planted the seed for me. And so I've been pursuing that since. We have so much geography in Canada, so much variation in geography from coast to coast. And I've been fortunate enough to see most of it. So there's always something interesting and new to paint here. There's more to paint than anybody can do in a lifetime.
That's very interesting. So, you said that you started from the very early ages and you were just interested in it. Um, was it any particular reason? Like, how did you even become interested in art?
Well, you find out when you're a child, as you're going through elementary school, your drawing starts to improve and the rest of the kids kind of remain a little static. And then, of course, teachers would encourage you to keep pursuing it. They would recognize what you were doing.
Mhm.
And of course, always trying to get you to exploit what you're able to do better. Some kids were wonderful in math, science. That wasn't me. I directly, more art for me, just on I think what happened was my mom's side of the family tended to be more uh, painters and drawers,
Okay.
and then my father's side were all famous musicians here in Canada 50, 60 years ago. So I had a good balance and basically kept me steered towards the arts, which was definitely my strength. So.
Awesome. I remember that, before we have this conversation, you kind of briefly mentioned that you play music as well, or you used to play. How did you get involved in the music as well?
Well, I was a smaller child, and I guess my parents realized that sports wouldn't be an option for me at that stage of life, and started me in music lessons when I was 9 years old.
Mhm.
And I took to it right away. Just had an affinity for it, and again, I was able to develop that. So I went through the conservatory here in Canada, um, playing several instruments. I ended up with a, youth philharmonic orchestra when I was 16. We toured Europe, playing a lot of classical, anything from Verdi to Beethoven to Bach. And unfortunately, years later, when I started going to school for art, I gave up the music part and kind of sold all the instruments and concentrated on painting. And then thankfully, when I was about 35, I saw a guitar at a garage sale, purchased that, and taught myself. So realizing how much I did miss music. And like the art, it's a good creative process. And for me, it's, it's a bit of a stress relief. So there's lots of times if I'm not having the best of days, I'll either pick up a paintbrush or I'll pick up the guitar and just kind of lose myself in there and just get back to positive thoughts.
So what kind of instruments do you used to play?
Back in the day, I played the accordion, played a little bit of piano, I played some brass instruments like trumpet, E-flat, horn, baritone, and then just basically taught myself now guitar, harmonica, which I've been doing probably 25 years anyways. So yeah, it's always an interesting thing, especially if you have the ability to dissect music. You know what you're missing, and so I said I got to start playing again. So that was great, and I think it complements my art as well, because they can take you away if you need to, break away from the world for a few moments.
Definitely, yeah, that's a great point. I'm like that too. I'm playing music, and when I went to art school, I had to stop it because there's too much work. There's not enough time to allocate yourself, and having engagements in all these different activities. But after school, I picked it up again, and I'm glad. Even though if I'm not spending time like regularly every day, still knowing that I have the instrument and I can, pick it up anytime gives me the peace of mind.
Yeah, it's nice. I mean, I always think that if you're blessed with some talents, you should always use them.
Definitely.
And that was my problem too. Like when I was in my 20s, I really didn't paint a whole lot. I didn't play any music, and you feel that void after a while. So thankfully, I've reconnected with both.
Oh, beautifully said. Yeah, totally agree. So, one of the questions that we ask our artists who we talk to them, because our focus of our organization is mainly on the health benefits that any creative practice provides for us, is that do you believe if your art practice had any effects on your health at all?
Oh, I definitely think so. The prime example actually is this year, because I have a full-time job, and we were locked down for March and April, and many of my friends had a hard time staying home, being isolated. I didn't have any issue at all because I was very diligent. I got up in the morning, I would, have my breakfast, and then I would paint all day. And, in the evening I would play music. So I could entertain myself. I still missed seeing my friends and things in person, but I just had that luxury of just being able to, do my thing. And I was quite happy, actually. I finished 7 pieces while we were closed. So I got a lot more done than I normally do because of my job. I can only paint a couple of days a week.
Right.
And so to have 2 months off was glorious. And the only downside was I started running out of paint and canvases. So thankfully the stores reopened so I could resupply myself.
That's great. That's really good. So what is the theme of your artworks mainly?
Basically, I like to exploit Canada's natural beauty.
Okay.
As I said, I've been very fortunate. I've done the entire Trans-Canada Highway from St. John's, Newfoundland to Victoria, BC. And you can see how much variety there is. And then the great thing is, too, by being in so many different areas, it really forces you to look a little harder because the palette changes from area to area. So whether it's the color of the skies, the color of the water, the native grasses and trees and what have you, it's always good to do that. And I think it gives you a really good balance of what we have. And I guess that stems again from the Group of 7 back in the 1920s and 30s. They did the same thing. They basically showcased Canada for what it really was. And prior to that movement, most of Canada was portrayed in more of a European fashion, so very romanticized. It wasn't a true reflection of what the country actually looked like. They tried to soften it and make it look a little more, I wouldn't know, I'm trying to think of the word here, but Canada is a very rugged place in a lot of areas when you go outside the urban areas, and that's where the beauty lies. And so the wonderful thing is if you can put a Canadian accent on your work, I think it really reflects what you're seeing. and gives people that feeling, you know, what they've experienced. So
how do you put that Canadian accent on your paintings?
I try and emphasize the textures. I really get drawn to textures in the landscape. So that's what I think separates us from a lot of other areas. I've been fortunate enough to see a large part of the world, but it's that ruggedness here because, you know, it's relatively new country. We're only probably 25% of our land is actually settled, and everything else is wilderness. So there's just so much out there, and I think that's what I try and put across anyway in my work.
Nice.
Is to just show the raw beauty of it all.
The raw beauty, yeah. So,
Yeah.
have you tried to paint like in other countries? If you go to visit, do you do that kind of work at all?
No, unfortunately, I think the last time I did something like that was when I was in high school because I had gone to Europe when I was 16, and so basically some photographs I had taken, I tried to turn those into paintings during art class. But the unfortunate thing is I really haven't traveled anywhere recently. I think 7 years ago was the last time I left the country. So, but you know, going forward, I do want to get back to Europe. There's parts of Asia I would love to see as well. Australia, New Zealand, you know, get down to that area. And with the technology we have now, with everything being so portable, instead of trying to take a camera and 100 rolls of film, you know, either your phone or I do have a digital camera, you can, you know, 2,000, 3,000 images. So there'd be quite a lot to choose from. And there's always something, you know, if you go somewhere that speaks to you. So that's typically, I think, what happens. Even if we blast off several hundred images while we travel, there's always one or two that just draw us because we can put ourselves back there. There's just something about it that makes you want to kind of record it and interpret it in your own manner.
Yeah. Do you do plein air painting as well, or you mostly work from reference photo of your?
Very, very little because I tend to use acrylics. Acrylic's been my main medium for close to 40 years now. And because of its quick drying properties, it's very difficult to work with outside. I do have watercolors that I like using as well from time to time. And so if I'm going to do anything plein air, it's typically with the watercolors because I can take a small pad with me and you know, it's very portable. It's a small compact kit. That you don't need a lot of things to do, and it's similar in the fact that both are very quick drying. Both media you have to really plan out ahead of time before you lay the brush down, and I've always enjoyed that challenge. I know a lot of people like to shy away from it sometimes if they find it too much pre-planning and things, but I guess I kind of thrive on that. And I think the more you do it too, the more confidence you gain, and it's easier for you to do that. At first, it can be quite intimidating. I know as a young painter, that was my experience. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, no, totally agree. Practice makes it perfect. It takes some
Well,
time.
it's same as music, right? Both arts forms are practice, practice, practice.
Exactly. So, how many pieces have you made so far? Do you count your pieces at all?
I haven't up until I started. I got into a gallery in 2009, and since then I've definitely kept track. So I think I'm between 80 and 90 pieces in the last 10, 11 years.
Nice.
So, and it's probably because I have to work, so I don't get a lot of time to paint. So my annual output, I'd say over the last 4 or 5 years, is probably anywhere from 8 to 12 paintings a year. And this year I'm already up to about 12 or 13 or more. So it's there's been, you know, good and bad with this year, you know, with all the things going on. But the one upside has been that I've been able to do a lot more work this year, which I'm quite happy about.
Very nice. I see you have some very beautiful paintings hanging in the background somewhere on your walls. Can we take a look at them? Do you mind to just taking the camera? Show me?
Yeah, not at all. I can show you here. Sorry, well, some of the stuff is quite old actually. So there's paintings like this airplane. Sorry, that's probably done about 20 years ago.
Nice.
The guitar down below, that's my guitar. I did a portrait of my guitar. The charcoal drawing is from 1981 when I was going to university. That's Jim Morrison, who was the singer with the rock group The Doors. And I've got some experimental stuff. The winter scene is kind of a fisheye effect. I'm doing this backwards. It's kind of funny. This painting is a self-portrait of myself fishing.
Sorry,
fly fishing.
there is actually an option on the phone if you want to change the camera. Yeah, you know, there is a one with two arrows in a circle. Yeah,
I can do that.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I don't have teenagers, so I don't know a lot of this technical stuff. Yeah, so, and some of this stuff is from quite a while ago. There's a self-portrait there of myself painting. This is something I'm currently working on right now. A couple of horses there. I'm donating this to the Children's Wish Foundation. I do it every year for the last 6 years. I had a sister who was born with a lot of challenges who passed away at age 9. And there was no organization like that. So I'm very happy to donate a painting every year. And so far, $13,000 raised. I'm hoping to hit over 15 this year because these kids really deserve a trip to take them away from their troubles.
Of course.
This is one of the ones I did during the lockdown. It's actually a watercolor there.
Oh.
A couple of
Beautiful.
Thank you. This is what I'm working on right now as well. This is Castle Mountain in Banff. Nice winter scene. And then some of these are oh, this is the very first oil painting I did when I was 14.
Wow.
And then these are a couple of other ones that, again, I did during the lockdown. So the top one is from Saskatchewan, out in the prairies. Of course, this is Mount Rundle in Canmore. People that have been out here are familiar with. And then these are some more watercolors. Actually, the one on the top is a plein air one I did down in the south part of the province.
Very nice.
4 or 5 years ago. And then this is another one I did at Lake O'Hara. And then just some more older pieces. So I've got a pretty big art gallery here.
We all do, I guess, as artists.
Yeah, well, the big thing is we haven't been able to submit a lot of things to the gallery because of the lockdown and things. So as things return to normal, I'll be able to find homes for some of these as well. So.
Right. Nice. Thank you very much for showing us your beautiful artworks. There's some of them have very interesting quality. Like, I wish we could spend more time looking at them, but still, thank you very much for showing us.
Yeah, well, the gallery I'm in, the website there, if anybody wants to visit that, they can have a better view of the images, the ones that are currently in there and some of the ones that have been sold, etc. So I don't have my own website, but yeah, got to work on that. But
sure, yeah. Yeah, I will add to the name of the gallery, and we will put it on the bottom of this video so people can go and take a good look at your works.
Great, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so.
Go ahead, sorry.
No, I was just going to say that's the wonderful thing now with all the social media and everything else. We can access things easily, and if people want to go into more depth, it's, you know, you can always enlarge and have a look at closer details, etc. Yeah.
Of course. And I noticed that you showed us only one oil painting. You don't like using oil paint, or you know, why did you choose?
Yeah, well, the only thing I found frustrating with the oils was the long drying time and then the odor. And for a number of years, I lived in small places, and I just found acrylic. I just loved it. The fact I was, you know, able to work with it when it dries fast, but it's also the fact there's no odor. I just found it, for me, a better medium. You know, there's nothing wrong with oils, and you know, there's a lot of people that do wonderful work on oils, but I just got so used to the water-based media. With the watercolor and the acrylic side, it's my comfort zone. So I quite enjoy using it. And I think sometimes too, you can put your paintings into a little higher key sometimes with the properties of acrylic.
Yeah.
You can make it quite vibrant, especially with the mediums and things that you can use.
Yeah.
To make with the pigments. Yeah.
So do you glaze your paintings too, or no?
I do varnish them. So yeah, I typically give them 2 coats. Right now I'm using more of a matte finish at the end, so I will give them a coat of gloss varnish initially. and then the second coat will be a matte varnish.
Mm-hmm.
And the advantage with that is if you're hanging the piece in a really well lit area, sometimes if it's a gloss finish, there's too much glare and reflection.
Yeah.
So you really can't see the painting sometimes, or you're missing spots.
Right.
It's kind of like, on a TV screen when the sun's shining. So I made that change several years ago, to go with the matte finish. Oh, sorry, on the recommendation of the gallery. So I've been doing that for 8 or 9 years, I guess now.
Good to know. I might consider doing that myself. All right.
It's UV protection too. Yeah. So that's what the other thing I've learned is that it will protect the paintings from fading over time.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you think if acrylic paintings last longer, in the long term, pretty much, or oil paintings?
Well, the only thing is the oil paintings have such a much longer history.
Right.
Over the time frame of art, recorded art, and I guess it's a 20th century. It would be a 20th century medium acrylic. The way I look at it is because it's a polymer, I think it can expand and contract with less damage. I don't know about the cracking. The oldest acrylic paintings I've seen are probably done from the 1950s, and so far they don't show any sign of cracking like you can have with oil paint. Sometimes after a couple of 100 years they can crack. They either have to be refinished or what have you. So that's something I guess we'll find out down the road in 200 or 300 years. So either my work will be durable or it'll start falling apart, and I hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah, me too. So Darren, would you like to collaborate with other artists?
I think down the road, once I retire, I probably would be open to doing that. I think right now with my schedule, the fact I'm still working and the painting, I don't think I would have the time right now to commit, and I wouldn't want to give that impression that and then I can't, and I'd have to back out. So, but I think once I hit retirement, that would be a thing I would probably like to explore, because I know there's a bunch of groups out there and things that they do work together. Or they'll collaborate on shows, or even sometimes they'll collaborate on a piece of work, which I think would be always an interesting thing to do. And I haven't done that since university, I'm sure. So, yeah.
Good to know. Awesome. All right. So, what is your perspective on art and creativity, Darren?
It's just, I think for me, it's a need. I have to do things like this all the time. There's just always something inside me that says, I want to record this, or I want to interpret this. That's the way I approach things. I just, there's something that triggers something in my head that says, let's do this. And so that's basically my approach. And as I say, with the amount I've traveled around here and what I've seen, there's always that impetus to share that with other people.
I'm just taking some notes from your speech here. Awesome. All right. So, what are you working on right now? Are you painting anything else? Even though you're back to work?
Yeah, I'm still working. As I say, the horses here, that's going to be, there's a golf tournament in September that they do the fundraising for the Children's Wish. So that's the priority right now. There's not much work left on it, probably a few more days, and then it should be done. And then I have the Castle Mountain painting down here that I'm going to continue to work on as well. So I've got those two things distracting me right now. And then there's always a ton of images waiting, for me to look through again and see what's going to inspire me next.
Awesome. So how long do you usually spend time-wise on each of your paintings, like for larger paintings, for example?
It can be anywhere from several weeks to several months, just depending on what's involved, and sometimes if you're not satisfied, I have a tendency sometimes, if it's just not working, or what I call artist block, I'll just put the painting off to the side and revisit it months later when you have a fresh set of eyes and a fresh set of ideas. Because sometimes you just get to a point where you can't go further.
Mm.
There's just that something holding you back, or it's not working out to your liking. And the one thing I love about acrylic, if I'm not satisfied, I can paint right over top of it and change things, which is great. And because I dilute the pigments quite a bit. My work is quite flat. It's not impasto. So even if I've redone something, you can't tell. There's no giveaway because it's not, sticking out from underneath. So that's one thing I really enjoy about the medium, is that flexibility to change things if I have to.
Right. And then, when you're working from your reference photos, do you tend to make it like as detailed possible? Are you making it hyper realistic, or you change things up depending to what you like?
Yeah, I'm trying to do more impressionistic work now, so I'm using more juxtaposed colors and things instead of like actual detail. And so my brush strokes are quite small, and I think that's a habit I got from watercolor years ago. And so up close, sometimes they don't look like they look like a bunch of dots and stuff, but as you stand back, everything starts to meld and give you that three-dimensional look. So I guess it's a combination of detail and impressionism. And then just looking back over, years ago, well, like the airplane, for example, I showed you earlier, that's quite detailed, but my work is nowhere like that anymore. So it's the progression. I've learned to use less brush strokes, more colors to create that three-dimensionality in the work. So
beautiful, very nice. So Darren, what would you recommend for those people who want to start painting and haven't started yet?
It's always good if you can take a course, like either through a school or a community center. And then the nice thing is when you join with other people, you feel a little more encouraged. And just keep going, and like, don't let anybody tell you this is right or this is wrong, because it's like handwriting. We all have our own version and we all have our own interpretation, and anybody that's been in an art class, they can put an object in the middle of the room with 30 people and you're going to get 30 different images. And so the only thing really is to learn more techniques. So if you want to create more realism, or you want to learn how to blend colors, or you want to learn color charts so that your work stands out better, there's more contrast, etc. And those are all things that take time, but the main thing is don't give up. Practice, practice, practice. And you always see, it's like anything else, the more you do it, the more it becomes easier, and the more skilled you become at your craft. And it's taken me quite a while to get where I am, but I've never been discouraged, and I've been fortunate enough to get into a gallery and have an audience and some customers that have collected my work. And so that, at the end of the day is the highest compliment you can get. And for me, a degree of satisfaction that all those years of, persevering have finally paid off. So don't give up, keep going forward, and, be confident in what you do.
Very well said. Yeah, exactly. So, who are you most inspired by for yourself and your art?
Well, I go back to the Group of Seven was a huge influence for me. And then several Canadian artists like Ken Danby and Alex Colville, I studied them as well. So I took some of their surrealism, hyperrealism, plus the more simplistic style of the Group of Seven, and kind of melded it into, I think, what I do now, which I guess I would call a Canadian style of art. It's like the country itself. It's evolving. It's a relatively new country and a relatively new way of painting, etc. So it's only been around for about 150 years. So, but there's definitely a look, and it's like a lot of artwork around the world. You can almost tell what country produced the work by the styles that they've learned, and what they've been handed down, etc. And I think that's what makes it really unique and fun. And I do like looking at other people's work from around the world and seeing what they're doing, because at the end of the day, we're all doing the same thing. Like artists basically record the time that they were around,
Exactly.
so that future generations can get an idea. And whether that's landscape art like myself, or some people are a little more political in their art, and again, that's something you can use as a touchdown through the years to get an idea of what people were thinking or feeling at the time. And so I think that's what I really, really enjoy about art. It just basically says, I was here during this time in history.
Exactly.
This is how I interpreted the world and what I saw around me, and hopefully future generations appreciate that.
Exactly. Yeah, I always think that we as artists are documenting the history, whether people want to accept it or not. We are doing the actual job, and it's very sincere and genuine. We cannot change it because it really goes through the filter of my own soul and spirit to put it on the canvas without manipulating anything. So.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It all started with the cave paintings, 20,000 years ago. And all through history, we've had that ability to go back and see what people looked like, or what they wore, or what the priorities were in their existence. And thankfully, we have so much of that around to study and view.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree. So, who encouraged you the most while you were doing your art?
It started in school with my teachers. A few of my teachers definitely pushed me that way. And thankfully my parents always supported me in that regard as well. That's the major thing. When you get that encouragement, I mean, that's the best thing you can ask for. And so I think it facilitates your journey. Oh, sorry. Got my trying to hold my phone here. Anyway, my journey was through the fact that I got so much encouragement, and so it just makes you more enthusiastic. It's like anything else,
Right.
If somebody says, "Oh, you're really good at that," or pursue it, then I think it just kind of lights that spark and makes you want to go further and further and see how far you can take it.
Yeah, I'm glad that you had that. There's lots of people who are dealing with the opposite. No matter how much they try, people are still going to be, sending all sorts of negative comments towards them, and that's really disempowering. And that's something that I'm personally working on, trying to create a more positive environment for everyone and not allowing this toxicity, to just being spread around. If somebody's not happy, keep it to yourself. You don't need to transfer that to somebody who is actually doing a good work and you just don't like it. Keep it to yourself.
No, I mean, yeah, and the thing with social media right now, that's the thing. There is good and bad. I mean, most of us try and pay attention to the positive, but unfortunately, it's also a vehicle for those people that want to go on the negative side of things. So it's easy. The beautiful thing is, you can just delete them.
Yeah,
you don't
have to deal with them. Yeah. You just like them.
we unfollow those people. Yes.
Exactly. Literally and figuratively, we unfollow them. So, Darren, if you could change anything about yourself, what would that be?
I think the only thing I don't have any regrets in life. I'm pretty happy with the way things are.
Great.
The only thing I wish I could do is go back maybe when I was younger in my 20s and been a little more diligent and kept working after I left school on my artwork. Basically, I just did paintings for weddings and stuff, once a year or something. And so I lost a good decade at least, I think, before I really started actively painting again. So that would be the only thing, if I could go back and change. And then maybe better eyesight. I've had glasses since I was 4 years old, so I've always envied people that had good eyes.
Yeah, that's a very good wish to have. So what were you doing in your 20s then? You were just working full time somewhere?
Yeah, I wasn't with an art education. It wasn't anything that you could get a job readily with. I was thinking about teaching at the time, but they weren't hiring teachers back when I got out of school. So, I concentrated, and then you're always looking at, well, you have to get a job, you have to start going on with life and going forward. And so I think with just all those distractions, and then you know, your social life is so important at that age. So you didn't want to really shut yourself off painting and sitting in the house. You wanted to be out and be active with everybody else. So that's about the only reason. But thankfully, you know, when I hit my 30s, I really rediscovered my painting again and really got into it again and kept pursuing it. And it's just grown from there. So I'm very, very fortunate. Yeah.
Great, great. So, Darren, if you had a superpower, what would that be, and what would you do with it?
I think of anything, I would like to be able to fly, just because there's so much to see, and it gives you a different perspective on things. And the way the traffic is now, trying to get out to Banff with 2.5 hours of bumper to bumper, be able just to fly out there and avoid all the rest of the people. Yeah.
You know, it's
I wouldn't want anything. I wouldn't want anything nefarious or anything that would give me, you know, an advantage over everybody else. I think that's the thing with superpowers, right? It's either, you know, it can be used for good, or it can be used for evil. So I think it's pretty innocuous if it's just, you know, something that if you had the ability to fly, it would be, for me, it would be pretty cool.
Cool. So would you change anything for anyone too? If you could fly, would you help others to fly too?
Yeah, I guess that's starting to sound like Peter Pan. Anyway.
Why not? I mean, that's your creative side, right?
Exactly. Yeah, no, I think it's just interesting to show people, you know, to see different perspectives on things. Like, you know, same thing, I've flown across Canada, so I've seen everything from 30,000 feet, but it's been that thing since the caveman, you know, like we've always been envious of the birds.
Yeah.
Just to be able to lift off the ground and go wherever they want. So
yeah, that's a very good observation for sure. Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Darren. I guess my last question to you is that where our viewers can view your work. So you said that you have an Instagram page. Where else can they find you?
So I'll be. I also belong to Canadian Visual Artists. That's a group on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
So some of my work is posted in there. And then, of course, the gallery that represents me, the Stephen Lowe Gallery in downtown Calgary. Anybody can go into that website and view my work there. I am trying to get a website built for myself, so I'm just gonna get a few people to give me a hand with that, because I definitely would like to create that and get us some exposure that way. So
for sure, yeah. If you we actually know a few people that we did an interview with them that are website developers, and if you would be interested, I can connect you with them and you can go from there.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's be great. It's like I say, it's kind of all new for me, this technology, but I've been really relishing it, especially the photography end, because I do a lot of hiking, and the fact that if you can rattle off, you know, a couple of 100 images while you're out walking around is fantastic, and that's very portable. And the fact that you can manipulate it when you get back and download it, it's fantastic. So.
Yeah, definitely, I agree. I've been doing that myself too, and it's very useful for the time and medium that we have these days. It's very useful to just, you know, use these photos and create something new. And yeah, especially with the weather that we have here, I really like to work in the nature, but most of the times it's either too windy, or like if it's hot, it's too hot. Like it's never the most, you know.
or conversely, too cold.
Yeah, there you go. So, yeah, as you said, it's a very raw and wild nature here, and that's the beauty of it.
Yeah. Well, that's what triggers me, and that's what keeps me going forward. Is just the raw beauty and the ruggedness of the country. And, yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, Darren, if you have any other last, you know, comments, questions, anything that you would like to say, go ahead. And then I guess that's it. We can finish our talk here.
Yeah. Well, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to talk to the audience today and have people discover my work and discover the work of the other people that you've interviewed in the past. And I think that's fantastic here in Calgary as well, to and around the world, to get people to start to see what everybody else is doing and communicate their ideas and listen to other people, what they're doing, and And the good thing about that too is sometimes, you know, I can learn from other people. Sometimes they'll say something or show something that intrigues me, and then that'll kind of get me to go off in that direction for a bit and see how I can develop that. And if I've given anybody any ideas or assistance in what they want to do in their pursuit, that's also great as well. And the fact that we can do this live and in this medium is just so wonderful that we can all share ideas and communicate.
Yeah. I'm also very happy and glad that we've been able to do this without too much complication. You know, it's very simple and straightforward. I also thank you very much for, you know, accepting this invitation and your time and coming and doing this interview with me. It was a pleasure. It was very fun to talk with you and learning more about your artwork. Your artwork is very beautiful. I'm going to share a photo of your artwork after this video so our viewers can have a better look at your amazing talent. And yeah, we'll have more live Instagrams with artist stories coming up next week as well. Please feel free to stay connected with us. And if you know any other artists, please do introduce them to us so we can talk to them as well and share their stories. That would be very much appreciated. Yes. And for all the people who did come and view us, thank you so very much for your support and always joining us. Some of you come and go, but that's still very nice of you. And some of you view the videos afterwards. And please do subscribe to our YouTube channels as well. We have, you know, another portion of our organization is in Persian. That's mainly because the Persian community has been very supportive of this organization and our activities. So we have dedicated an entire department to Persian community. And so we have one YouTube channel in Persian. It's mainly a cooking channel, and it's called 1001 Nights. And we also have another YouTube channel, which is under the name of Loud Arts Society, and we are sharing all of these interviews and all the other activities and programs and events that we have been conducting through the past 5 years on that channel. So if you're interested, please feel free to subscribe to those channels as well, and we can this way stay connected, and this is also a great way to support us as an organization.
Wonderful.
All right, well, thank you so very much, Darren. I guess I will talk to you later, and again, if you do know any other artists, please introduce them to us.
I will do that, and I certainly appreciate this today. I really appreciate it, Tara. That's fabulous. Thank you.
You are very welcome. Thank you again. Have a good day.
All the best to you. Cheers.
Cheers. Bye.